So I guess this morning I want to get your thoughts on the veto that Governor Abbott did last night on SB 3. I know you voted in favor of it to ban THC products in Texas.
I did. And the concerns, of course, are about children having access to these products many of them are geared toward children in terms of the marketing and the packaging. And unfortunately, today, kids have full access. Now, some stores say they keep children out. That's good, but there's no requirement of that. And so that's really a lot of what was driving SB 3, and also the fact that folks, even adults, don't know what they're buying. There's no way to measure whether you're really getting what you're paying for, whether you're getting the quantity or the potency that you expect that you're paying for. So that's what the bill is about. And so, yes, Governor Abbott vetoed that bill. And in his message, he pointed out that Arkansas passed a similar ban 2 years ago, very similar to the one that we passed. And he said that one has been tied up in court ever since. And so the products are still being sold to children. And so Governor Abbott agrees this has to be dealt with. But he says, let's come back and do it in a different way. So that's the plan. And so we're looking forward to getting that done.
So Governor Abbott called for a special session here in about a month or so, not too long from now. Uh, he's calling on lawmakers to sort of rework the way they're thinking about SB 3. As a lawmaker, how does that look for you? How do we rework SB 3?
We're going to keep our eye on the ball. It's primarily about protecting children and protecting the public. And so that's what we'll focus on. So the details are going to have to be worked out. But again, it's going to start there. Again, looking at many of these products, and you've seen them, they've been featured. Many of these products are clearly marketed toward children. The packaging, the names, these are not medical products for adults. They're marketed toward children. That's a real problem. And so everybody, I think, agrees we have to protect children. And then beyond that, we're going to get the details worked out. So I think you would expect to see things like, in addition to forbidding children from purchasing them, probably see limitations on where they can be sold. Because today, if you look around the state, many of these stores are clustered around schools, schools where minors are going to school. That's obviously a problem. So I think you should be looking for things like that.
And for you personally, what are some things you would want to see in this new piece of legislation in this special session? Would it be something like what we do with alcohol, where you need to present an ID before you buy it?
Right. That makes sense. Again, children should not have access to stuff like that. I think almost everybody agrees on that. But because of a quirk in federal law passed in 2018, today, unless we do something, children have access to all of these products. And so that's the most important thing. And also for adults, they need to know what they're getting. There needs to be some quality control. They need to be able to rely on what the packaging says, that it is what it says it is. And so that's the idea.
For you personally, what are some of the items or takeaways that you want to see in this bill?
Those are the main ones: protecting children, making sure folks know what they're getting, and making sure that the products aren't being marketed or directed toward children. You know, this subject of marijuana is a volatile one, and people have strong opinions about it. When we passed Senate Bill 3, we also expanded the compassionate use program, and that's, of course, the medical marijuana program in Texas. Again, this is often about veterans or folks with serious conditions, and their doctors say that marijuana in the right way is the best solution for them. And so there are really two pieces to this: getting products out of the hands of children, dangerous products out of the hands of children, but also making sure that folks who, for medical reasons, need it have access to it. So that's going to be our goal. That's important to me.
No, SB 3 is one of the many bills or pieces of legislation passed by the legislator that Governor Abbott wants to see lawmakers rework in this next special session. What are some other big bills that we can expect you guys to work on in the special session?
So a bill about our courts, how our courts operate, making sure we have enough courts in the right places. The governor vetoed that bill because of a concern with something that was added to it. We're going to go back and look at that. You're going to see bills about criminal justice reform, making sure that criminals are being punished properly, and public service, public safety, that is being taken care of. Bills about water. And of course, the governor can add additional bills to that session if he wants to. As you know, in a special session, the legislature can consider only those bills the governor puts on the agenda. So his initial call, that's the document where he says we're having a session, his initial call lists certain topics. He can add more bills to that between now and the time the session starts. And even once the session is underway, he can add bills to the call. The governor usually does that, so I'd be looking forward to that as well.
I know, Senator, you mentioned one bill that has to do with water conservation. I know here in East Texas, we're dealing with pushback from a company that's wanting to dig into one of the Wilcox aquifers here in East Texas. What are your thoughts on that? And they're saying they might take this fight all the way up to the legislator. What does that look like?
That's important. I had a lot of conversations last week with the Texas Water Development Board, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality that regulate these matters, and also with a lot of local folks. We have to watch that very closely. We recognize if you're a landowner and you own the land and the water, then you have access to that. But there are some limits to that. If someone is taking a whole lot more than their share, and so much that they're affecting the aquifer around them, that's a problem. So that's why this has to be looked at. And I'm glad that TCEQ and the Water Development Board, and I believe the House Committee on Natural Resources is having a hearing on this in a couple of weeks. So this is serious. And so we just want to make sure everything's being done right.
What would you tell constituents about this whole water situation happening with the aquifer?
So we're going to make sure that property rights are protected. We're going to make sure that people know what's going on, that there's a process we can all participate in. We can all see it's transparent. We can raise our objections and make sure, I'm going to make sure that the voices of the people I represent are heard. No one's getting run over in this process.
And then are you fully against the Water Development Board taking water out of the aquifer?
Yeah, I want to see the details. I want to see the details. If there's a risk that the aquifers are going to be depleted, that our farmers, that our cities, that regular citizens who rely on that for their water, then that's a real problem. So I've got to see the details. We have to know how much water we're talking about and what effect it'll have on the rest of us before anything like this is approved.
And then another on a separate topic, I know your name's been thrown around for potentially Texas AG. Is that something that you're considering, or is that maybe a possibility for the future?
No, thank you. We were really honored to have a lot of people encourage us to run for Attorney General, and we've prayed about it and got a lot of good counsel. And so Layla and I have decided that we're going to stay where we are right now. We have work to do here, so we're going to stay where we are in the Texas Senate. There will be a big race for AG next year, and who knows what the future holds. Thank you for asking. Again, we've been really encouraged to have people tell us we should run and offer to help us. We don't think this is the right time for us to do that.
And glad you mentioned it's going to be a big race. Two big contenders in Texas names going for that office. Are you supporting anyone, or are you gonna let the race go?
Well, I don't think the field is set yet. I think we may see more people getting in, and we're going to have a lot of good choices. So I'm not sure who's going to get in. So it'd be premature to make a decision like that.
But would you endorse someone down the future once maybe the candidates are set in stone? Is that something you would maybe look into endorsing a candidate?
You know, we always look at that. We always look at that when there's a race that we feel strongly about, and we think there's one candidate that really deserves support. Then we don't mind sharing that with people.
Sounds good, Senator. All right, anything else worth mentioning, adding on SB3 or the special session that maybe we didn't
No,
touch on?
no, no, you've covered it. Thanks for including me.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man.